We're back with the Baal Shem Tov, and I gave you a page, 163. We're going to deal now. We're dealing with a topic which the Baal Shem Tov spends lots of time on, and his occupation with this shows that it must be quite important. Must be quite important, and we should have a full training.
Thank you.
Since the Baal Shem Tov gives so much attention to this topic, we have to realize that the amount of attention that we give to it is improper. He gives a tremendous amount of attention to extraneous thoughts which come into a person when he's davening. To us, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. We don't care too much about it. And we just, okay, that's the way it is, that's life. So I was dreaming, I was thinking about something else. Okay, let's go further. Life goes on. That's the way we more or less think about it. So hopefully, after learning the Baal Shem Tov, we'll be able to think more seriously about it and not take it so lightly. Because, as I said, the Baal Shem Tov spends so much time on it, it's got to be a serious matter. So I brought you a page now. Let's take a look at part of this Indian that he talks about. We learned the last couple of weeks about Machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, talking about Ketzad Meraglim Lefnei Akala. How do you dance by Akala? Beis Shammai says Kala Kamo Shehi. Beis Hillel says Kala No B'Chasuda. The Baal Shem Tov wanted to use a Hasidic insight into that and talking about the Shechina. When you're addressing the Shechina, what do you say to the Shechina? So Beis Shammai says, you say what it is, that's it. You say what it is. And Beis Hillel says, no, you've got to talk about all the details. No, Chasuda. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that when you have an extraneous thought that comes into your mind, so Beis Shammai says, this is it. This is life. This is life. Kala Kamo Shehi. Take the whole idea and just try to transfer the whole idea up to Hashem. Let him take care of it. Let him take care of it. Beis Hillel says no. Beis Hillel says you have to find out exactly what kind of thought you had, analyze it, and let it go back to its proper place in Shemayim and deal with that very, very meticulously. Each thing, each kind of thought has a different place to have a tikkun. Beis Shammai says you can't do that. Just do it all general. Send it back up to Shemayim. Let them take care of it. So we see already between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel that there's a different approach, and in our Golus we have a big problem because, as I said, we take it too lightly. We take it too lightly. It happens to everybody. There's nobody who is free from this malady. Remember, even the Baal Shem Tov's time, I told you this a couple of times already, could I repeat it? There was a new Rav who was making the headlines. And they wanted, the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov wanted to know who this Rav is. So let's go check him out. Let's go see what kind of person he is. Is he a good Rav? Is not a good Rav? Is it good to go to him, to listen to his shurim? Not. So they asked the Rebbe, give us permission to go. Well, Baal Shem Tov said, okay, go. So they asked the Baal Shem Tov, give us a siman so that we can analyze this person to know if he's amiti or if he's not amiti.
Amiti means what?
Truthful or not truthful. So Baal Shem Tov said, ask the Rav one question. Ask the Rav one question. Ask the Rav, what do you do for extraneous thoughts in davening? If he gives you an answer, you know it's a phony.
Any answer.
Any answer. There's no way out of it. Baal Shem Tov says there's no way out of it. If he's truthful, he'll tell you the truth. But if he tries to give you terutzim, forget about it. Don't stay with it.
What's the truthful answer?
The truthful answer is you cannot avoid it. The question is, what do you do when it already happens?
Yeah.
That's what we're working on. But you cannot avoid it happening. It's going to happen. How do you deal with it after it happens? That's what we're working on. Oh, let's take a look now at the page in front of us. Shemaiti b'shem Mori. This is one of the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov who's writing this, that he heard from his Rebbe the following. Bir Shas in Brachos, Omer Rabbi Zera. It's a very interesting Gemara. Kol ha'omer Shema Shema Mishas Kedosa. The person says Shema Yisrael twice, you tell him shh, shh. It's not nice to say twice. You don't say Shema twice, say Shema only once. There's only one God listening, not twice. Amalei Rav Papa Abaya. They were both listening. Rabbi Zera said this, and then there was Abaya and Rav Papa listening, and he said to him, "What do you mean Shaskanosa? What do you mean you tell him to be quiet?" He's saying it the second time, Dilma Mikora Lo Yechaven Daite. He's repeating it. Why? Because the first time he was distracted. He didn't have the right kavanah, so he wants to say, "Oh, how can I say Shema Yisrael that way? I'm going to go over again and say it better." What's wrong? So he said it a second time with kavanah. Amalei Chavrusa Klapi Shmayim Miyika. What do you mean a second time? There's no doubles. Hashem doesn't have a chavrusa. There's only one God. You don't say Shema twice. You don't say twice. What do you mean? You didn't. What do you mean? If he didn't have kavanah the first time, you give him the knock on the head. You take a hammer from the blacksmith and you hit him over the head. What do you mean you didn't have kavanah the first time? Let him learn to have kavanah. There's no such thing as repeats. No repeats. We're going to have to answer in the Gemara. You hit him over the head if you didn't have kavanah. What would you say? This is a rabbi. This is a rabbi. We're going to go to the dogs. This is not a rabbi for us. Hit him over the head with a hammer. All right, that's the Gemara. The Hikshem Mori, the Baal Shem Tov asked the Kasha. Very nice. Hit him over the head with the Gemara. Akate hakushim l'makayma oimedes. It's still a good kasha that the Gemara asks, why are you stopping him from saying a second time Shema? Dilma mikara lo yechavin. Maybe the first time he was distracted and didn't have kavanah the first time when he said Shema Yisrael. Ve'hashta ba let's say shidei shemayim. And now he wants to do it the right way and satisfy Hashem by saying it properly. Well, lechavin. Why are you hitting over the head? What are you telling me he should do it the first time the right way, otherwise hit him over the head with a hammer? What kind of answer is that? What's wrong with that kasha? He didn't say it the first time right, he wants to try the second time. The old kasha, furthermore, Lo manakat Reb Zera davka omer Shema Shema. Why did Reb Zera pick on this Shema Yisrael? What about other things? What are other things? If you didn't say them the first time, you can't say it a second time? V'lo pasuk acher. L'kriya Shema Okiyotze. Okay. So those are the kashas that Reb Zera asks. Ubir, and now the Baal Shem Tov wants to give his explanation. Mahu inyan kabbalas ol malchus shemayim. This is a very, very beautiful insight of the Baal Shem Tov. What does it mean to be makabel ol malchus shemayim? What does that mean? The words translated mean, I accept upon myself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven. Ol malchus shemayim. The yoke of the kingdom of heaven. Meaning to say, if you translate it literally, that there are many ways to look at your awareness of God. You could look at your awareness of God as it's a pleasure. I'm so happy that I have a framework, I have somebody that I can turn to, I have a father in Shemayim, I have a king. I have a king who rules over me, and I'm happy for it. Think about this for a moment, Rabbi. I heard this from Rabbi the Miller. It must have been about 60 years ago, and it's just stuck on my mind. It's a beautiful observation. He said, "Birchas hamazon, you eat and you say Birchas HaMazon, right? You bench. After you finish the Olam HaYechasreinu, after the fourth bracha, you start the Harachamans, right? What's the first Harachaman you say? No. Harachaman hu yimloch alinu le'olam v'ed. Right? Isn't that a beautiful observation? The first thing you ask for after you have expressed all your thanks to Hashem for providing you with the sustenance that you need, and bread, and parnasa, and Torah, and mitzvahs, and everything in Eretz Yisrael, and all that, you thank Him for all that, then now you can come along and ask. We're asking for you. The first thing is, Yimloch, you should be our king. Klal Yisrael, from the beginning of history, always wanted to have a king. After Moshe Rabbeinu didn't come down, they came down and said, we need a king, we need somebody else to lead us. In Shmuel's time, they asked Shmuel to have a king also. We want a king. And it's a mitzvah in Torah. One of the first things you have to do when you come into Eretz Yisrael is you have to have a Melech Yisrael. So it's important for us. I'm with Shmuel, when he heard that kasha, they asked Shmuel, appoint as a king. Shmuel said to them, why are you asking for a king? The Rebbe Shalom is your king. He's the Melech HaMelechim. What do you need a king for? Just do what God says. You have the Torah. Do what God says. They didn't want a king. They said, no, we don't misunderstand. We don't want a king like all the other Umas Ha'olam at the Goyim. We want to have somebody who's going to teach us Torah, who will be a representative of Hashem. It's kosher. We're not asking for a Goyish king who's going to be a despot. No, we don't want that. We want a Jewish king who's going to represent God. Okay, so this is one way of what all Malchus Shemayim is. Yes, I realize that it is sometimes a yoke. The king can be very, very, let's say, harsh in his demands. Like the first major king we had, Shlomo HaMelech, was very, very demanding. To build the Beis HaMikdash, he put very heavy taxes on Am Yisrael. Very heavy taxes on Am Yisrael. And you know who followed his example? The Belzer Rebbe. Everybody knows the tremendous edifice that Belz has. There's nothing like it in Eretz Yisrael. Any place in Eretz Yisrael holds, I don't know, maybe 5,000, 6,000 people can get in there. I don't know. And it looks like, it's really, really very royal, very majestic. The tourists all go there. All the tour guides take the people to see the Belz Beis HaMidrash. And who paid for it? Who paid for it? He got, of course, donations from his wealthy Gevirim all over the world. But he took all the Avreichi Koilelim. Everybody had to pay a high tax to contribute to it. But the Rebbe is Rebbe, and what the Rebbe says, that's all. The perfect is concussions. The Rebbe said, that's it. That's all Malchus Shemayim. You accept what the king says, this king up on top, and you have to realize it's an all, but you accept it with pleasure. I'd rather have this king than another king. Baruch Hashem, all Malchus Shemayim. But it's an all in some ways. It is a burden. So he says, the Baal Shem Tov wants to explain what all Malchus Shemayim is. Va'inyan, now listen to this. Ki ha'adam, it's unfortunate that I couldn't bother the secretary to make so many copies here. So I have to read to you from the other side. But va'inyan, ki ha'adam mechuyav lahamin ki molei kol ha'aretz kvodo yisbarach. Yeah, this is one of the basic tenets of Judaism. Malay kol ha'aretz kvodo. There is nothing less asar pamlumineh. There is no smallest percentage of a place that is absent of Hashem. Hashem takes up everything. He completely occupies all space. You understand what that means? Is there something in space? What is space? It's emptiness. It's a void. I tell you something. It's a big chiddush. It's not a void. It's not a void. Space is occupied by Hashem. Space was a creation. Space is a creation. It's an amazing idea. Space is a creation. What's in space? Go up into outer space. Outer space. What's there? Nothing. What only is there is what you can see is in the objects that exist in space. But what is space? Space is also creation. Can you understand that? Space is a creation. Hashem was there before space. And He made space. That's all part of the Shekhinah. The empty spaces in the world, in the whatever you want to call it, is all occupied by the Shekhinah. It's not empty. Space is occupied by the Shekhinah. Less asar panumine. There is no such thing as a place which is void of Hashem's existence. If Hashem's existence wasn't there, there would be no space.
What would that be?
I don't know. If Hashem was not there making the space a object of existence, there would be no space. Now what's there? I don't know. Black hole? I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't have the words to explain what's there before space. I don't know. But space is a creation. If you take a look at Sefer Yetzirah, you'll see that space is a creation. It's not something that exists because nothing else is there, so there's space. No, it's not that way at all. Space is something which is positive, it's a creation. Of course, it's less dense than objects. The objects, the stars, the planets, whatever you want, they are, of course, objects are very dense. But you go down and remove the density to zero, then you have space. But it doesn't mean that space is not something. It's a something.
Also time is a creation.
Well, time is a creation because of the revolutions.
Yes.
Of the spheres one around the other. So they have time, but it's a creation that exists because of the way things work. Correct. But it's not. It's an idea. It's a concept. It's not like space. Not like space. Where you have the olam, shana, and nefesh. See, olam, shana, nefesh, the three things which split up the entire world. You have life, you have time, then you have the world, the physical world. The physical world is taken up also by space. That's part of the physical world. Okay, anyway. So listen to this. There is nothing in the world, there's nothing in the creation that is totally void. Everything, no matter how thin it is occupied by Hashem. If not occupied by Hashem, it couldn't exist. So space exists, and since it exists, it means that Hashem is there. Now, listen to this. V'kol hamachshavos, all thoughts of Hashem, of a person, kol machshavos shel ha'adam, yesh bo mitzioso yizbarach, have Hashem's existence in that. V'kol machshava hu koima shalema. Every thought that a person has is an entire network. That's what we say. It's a koma shlema, it's an entire network, and it is totally occupied by Hashem.
Machashav Azara during tefillah.
You hit it on the head. You hit it on the head. V'kasher ya'alem machshavto shel adam be'ez osko b'tefillah ez machshava ra'a v'zara. And when a person has during his davening, all of a sudden comes into his head a extraneous thought which is not shaykh to the tefillah, or a bad thought, which he shouldn't have at any time, and it comes into him in the middle of davening, why is it there? Is Hashem inside that thought or not? Is Hashem inside that thought or not?
Yes.
But Shem Tov's teaching is that he absolutely is. Hashem is inside that thought too. If Hashem occupies space, which is neutral, so surely he occupies something which is not neutral. It has some kind of form to it, it has some kind of idea involved in it, it has some kind of a picture, a thought. A thought, is he's saying, is a koma shlema. A thought is not just a fleeting thing. A thought is an entire network. How did it come about? What's the reason for it? What's going to be the end of this thought? Where is it going to go to? What are you going to do? A thought is an entire complex network. And Hashem is inside the thought. Why did Hashem send you that thought? Why is it there? And this is the important point. If you had a thought in the middle of Shmona Esrei, which is not nogea to Shmona Esrei at all, it was there, sent to you for some kind of tipul. You have to take that thought and deal with it and treat it. It was sent to you for treatment. And you have the abilities that somebody else doesn't have. That's why it was sent to you and not to somebody else. Only you can take that thought and treat it properly. What are you supposed to do with it? I can't think about the details like Brother Hill says. What kind of a thought is it? What department do I send it to for a tikkun? No. Hashem says, all these thoughts, just Hashem, just take it out. Take it. I'm blanking it out of my mind. That's it. That's the way I think about it. I don't want to have to deal with it. It's the serving my Shmona Esrei. I'm just sending it out. Let it go back up to Shemayim and finish with it. That's it. Kala kamoshi. I'm dealing with it. I accept it, but take it up. I don't want it. I don't want to know about it. I want to think about it, and I can't daven.
Noah v'yafir.
Huh?
Noah v'yafir.
No, kala kamoshi.
Yeah, the Hillel says.
Yeah, but I can't be bothered with making an operation on it, dissecting it, see what kind of a thought it is. This kind of thought. All thoughts which are not known yet, Shmona Esrei, out. Out, that's it. Take it back up to Shemayim. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It bothers me means Shmona Esrei. That's it.
But it is a message.
You have to realize why you got the thought, why it happened to you. But once it happens, you have to take all precautions to make sure it doesn't happen. But once it happens, you have to know how to deal with it. And you have to realize, he says, if you don't understand that and you don't believe it, that the thought has a purpose and it was sent for a specific reason to you, and you have to treat it and deal with it, and if you don't believe in it, then that's coming from Hashem. And Hashem occupies everything, even these extraneous thoughts. You don't really have a complete awareness of God's kingdom. You don't have a complete awareness that God rules over thoughts. He occupies the thoughts. If you don't accept that, and what you're doing is, and he says the lashon of Shem Tov, mekatzer chas v'shalom b'mitziuso yizbarach. You are limiting by your not realizing, understanding this, or don't want to think about it. You are limiting God's occupation of those thoughts. You're saying He doesn't exist here. No, this is something which is, let's say you had a bad thought. You started thinking about, let's say, women in the middle of Shemona Esrei. Oh, that's those kind of thoughts. Hashem's not there. That's Tumah. That's Tumah. Hashem's not there. I have to run away from that, blot it out as soon as I knock it out of my mind as soon as I can. Midrash Esrei. Think about women. If you say that, then you're a kafir. Les asa palamimei. There is nothing which is absent from Hashem's existence. Hashem occupies all thoughts. That thought also came from Hashem. And if you don't recognize that, you are saying that there is an area which Hashem does not occupy. That is saying that you don't accept all Malchus Shemayim as you're supposed to.
So what do you do?
But you realize it.
Yes.
You realize it, but you stop davening for the first thing. That's number one. You don't go on saying the words of Shemona Esrei habitually, because you habitually know it. First thing is you stop. You take yourself in hands and say, what am I doing? You think, I got to get this out of my mind. Block it out. Block it out of your mind. That's all. Push it away. And after you feel that you have cleared your mind from it, then you can start again davening. Yeah.
But if we say that in a way or the other, it was a message from Hashem, because it included Hashem.
That's right.
What do? You put it aside?
Yes, you push it aside because you're supposed to be talking to Hashem about the words that you're saying now. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
So why did Hashem send me this sword?
Oh, you have to. That's a good question. Why did Hashem send it to you? He wanted you to, first of all, to realize that this thought didn't come from nowhere. All the extraneous thoughts we have are a result of our own misdoings. The results of our thoughts during the day or previous days, the results of our wrong actions, and we created a virus, and we create these negative energies which are always coming back to us because we are their creator.
So you don't make a tikkun of it. If you push it aside, you don't make a tikkun on it.
Well, if you can, we'll see in a minute the notes on the bottom. If you can, you're supposed to say, what kind of a thought is this? Is this a thought about money? Well, then I'm going to push it up to the place where money comes from, and let it have a tikkun up there. I shouldn't be thinking about money now, but obviously there's something going on. Maybe my dealings in business are not the way it's supposed to be. Maybe I stole somebody from something. I don't know what. Let it go up to that sphere which takes care of money. If it talks about Rechavia, maybe it has to go back to a different place. But Shammai says, in Midrash Esrei, we can't do that. We can't do that. We don't have the koyach for it. Just send it up to Shemayim. Hashem, you deal with it. Take it there and you misakin it the way you're supposed to. You know the old story about, the famous story about the Shem Tov was a person didn't know how to daven, and he knew how to play flute or something like that, and he was playing the flute out in the forest, and the Baal Shem Tov said, all he knew was the olive bays. He said, yeah, that was the story. Yeah, all he knew was the olive bays. He said, I don't know how to daven. Hashem, I'm saying the olive bays. Aleph, bays, gimel, dal. You take the letters and arrange them and make words out of them. The same idea. I don't know how to make the tikkun on these thoughts. Hashem, I'm giving it up to you. It's up to you. You know, I realize that I'm not supposed to be thinking all these things. Taking the thought, let it go up to Shemayim, and you handle it. That's all. That's good enough according to Beis Shammai. Kala kamoshehi, that's it. I know I'm not to say. What you should do is, after you finish Mona Esrei, you sit down and think, why did such a thing come into my mind? What do I have to do so it shouldn't happen again? That's what you have to do after you finish Mona Esrei. But meanwhile, concentrate on the Shmona Esrei. Concentrate on the Shmona Esrei.
Rabbi,
yeah.
About Kalak Moshehi or Bet Hillel, is there a psak or it's teku?
I think in our times, for most people, it's probably, we'll see. I'll show you the notes on the bottom of the page. It's probably better to go like Beis Shammai. You're going to stand there and start analyzing English when they see what kind of thought it is and what sphere it is. You have to be on a very, very high madrega to be able to do that. We'll see what the Mefarshim said on the bottom. So now we can understand. Okay, he says, "Ubezeh muvan omer shma shma." Now we understand why a person says Shema Yisrael twice. He's saying Shema Yisrael. He's in the davening. Chakras. He's davening Ma'ariv. Says Shema Yisrael. Oh, I didn't have the right kavanah. I say it again. So he said, "Mishaskenosah." Tell him to be quiet. You know?
It happens to me sometimes when I daven, the words. So sometimes some words are not said fully.
Okay.
Sometimes it happens also with Baruch Atah. What do? You repeat it or not?
Oh, if you didn't say the words, that's something else.
You said it.
You didn't say it, that's something else. You're supposed to say every word separately, so then you can go over it. No problem.
Even Shema Farash.
If you didn't say it, some people say Adni. It's Ado.
Okay.
Some say Adni. That's not the way. You didn't say Hashem's name. She didn't say Hashem's name.
Okay.
So, what do you do according to the Baal Shem Tov? You're not supposed to repeat. What do? What you do is, if you realize you didn't have kavanah, according to the Baal Shem Tov Shita, you don't repeat a second time. You go back over the words in your mind, and now you have the kavanah that was lacking. But the words aren't repeated because those words had Hashem in them also.
Yeah.
Hashem was in those words. And you're saying, I didn't connect with Hashem, my mind was someplace altogether, the words are empty. See, the words are empty? Hashem is not there? Hashem is every place. He sent you those words. They came because if you did something wrong, He sent those words to you for a reason. You say Hashem is not in the words? Why are you repeating the sentence? Why are you repeating it? Hashem was there. He was talking to you through those thoughts. You're supposed to have better thoughts? Okay. Now go back and rethink the words, but don't say them again. Saying them again is an indication that what you did beforehand has absolutely no purpose. It's worthless. It's empty. It means nothing. It means nothing? Who gave you the koyach to say those words? Did they come from Hashem? Did He give you the breath? Did He give you the kol to be able to say those words? You're saying they're nothing? There's no animal in the world that has the koyach to speak like a human being. What do you mean Hashem's not there? Of course Hashem is there. Okay, you were missing the kavanah. Go back and now have the kavanah. Think in your mind, Shema, just in your mind, not to say it. Shema Yisrael. Now concentrate. But don't repeat again. Repeating is a statement of denial of Hashem's existence. You can't do that. You have to realize Hashem is all over. If you deny His existence, that means you're saying that Hashem doesn't exist in certain places, certain times. He's not there. That's kfirah. That's kfirah. You don't believe it. You're not a believer in Hashem. Amnam, says the Baal Shem Tov. Therefore, you can't say it twice. You have to rethink it again, but not to say it. Amnam, im yada shesham gam kei hu metzias Hashem yitbarach. If you realize Hashem was there, you wouldn't have to say it a second time. He was there the first time, and I didn't handle it properly. Now I'm going to rethink it and say it properly, or in my mind say it properly. This is what Hashas meant to say. You take a hammer, you hit him over the head. What does it mean to say? That's what the Gemara meant before. Hakavana, ki hamachshava atzma hu make es ha'adam. The machshava itself, that is hitting you. It's coming now to give you a surim. The machshava zor that you had. Kedei l'sakno l'haloso. The makkah is coming to you, and it's coming to hit you over the head, so that you can take that machshava and treat it properly and deal with it and elevate it to where it comes from. That's what the machshava wants from you. He's hitting you over the head so that you have the right thoughts. The lama uchazeh pam shein is lo mashma. Ki'ilu chas v'sholem pam mishon lo hayashom mitzvah l'Hashem yisborach. ונמצאו מקצה במציאוסו יזברך ובקבול זמוך השמיים ולכן אמר משס ונוסו. Okay. He didn't answer the question that I saw why he picked Afka the meaning of Shema Yisrael. It could be anything, he said before. Any words. I didn't say, maybe he said it further. But in this case, he didn't answer why he says Dafka Shema. It was any person. Now I want to draw your attention for a moment, rabbis, to the page that I gave you. Let's take a look on the bottom of the page I gave you. And it says over the following. Ba'otzer achayim. On the bottom, you see that? On the very bottom? Otzer achayim?
Yes.
It says, Kosav gam kein gzel shalom. Kasher yale b'machshava shel adam. Ha-Yisraeli. Hein koton hen godol. Hein mipichusei erech. Hein migdol Yisrael. No matter what kind of person you are, what level you are, if you are an Am Haaretz, you're illiterate, or whether you're a Gadol B'Yisrael B'Im Talmud Chacham, Eiz Machshava Ra'a V'Zara. You have to know who Ba'am, he Ba'am, El Ha'adam Nesachnu Halosa. You have to realize had come to you so that you can make a tikkun and elevate it and send it back up to Shemayim. V'zeh Shaveh B'chol Adam. Then this is not like other people think that it's not, which they write the opposite of this. They said davar hevel ki hishva umashva kotam v'gadol. When it comes to extraneous thoughts, there's no difference between a kotan or a gadol. They're all the same. Every person has this problem. Kim eino mamin bezeh ein lo alav kabbalas malchus shemayim, as we said. V'chein kasav b'derech zeh b'ortzer hachayim hechla broch, etc. No, look what he says in the next thing. B'zohar chay herich b'inyin zeh harbei ma'or. There's a lot of attention given to the parish of the Zohar Chai. I think it's the Kamana Rebbe, his parish on the Zohar. V'achakach kosav shom. He writes, the Lamed Schus al Oison HaKadoshim Hashem Bizmanenu Shestamu Pesach Zeh B'fnei Hamon Yisrael. You hear that? There are some Gedolim who said this is not for everybody to do. This is not for everybody to do.
What?
To try to elevate the thought and give it a tickle. It's not for everybody. The lo shayich elo legedolim shelo yistapesh bahem adam pashut. A simple person should not think that he can do that. This is made for gedolim. We'll talk about it in a minute. Let's look at the next paragraph. The Sefer Derech Pikudecha.
So what do they do the Kedanim?
The Sefer Derech Pikudecha b'Hagdama Zayin Kosav V'Zel Shalom. Basi lahaskir, prat echad lo v'levnei gili, or li levnei gili. I want to mention a point for me and for people in my generation. Es asher nimtza hachov b'kisvei talmidei bar Shem Tov. We find a kasuv, not kasuv. We find in the writings of the Bar Shem Tov's talmidim, bin nefal la'adam b'shas Torah v'avodah. Not only davening, even while learning, it happens. Ukiyotze. Machshava zora v'hiru ra al yidcheyu b'machshavto. Don't chase it away. Don't get this thought and try to knock it out. No, don't do that. What should you do? Rak yalena lisharsha. You have to take this thought and say, where does it come from? Try to elevate it to go back up there.
But this doesn't belong to us. This belongs to Gedolim.
Right. דהיינו אם הוא מחשבה מזנוס, וכיוצא שהוא מסוג בחינס אהבה, יעלנו לשורשו למידס אהבה אמיתיס, היינו מידס החסד. Oh, so he was Megal already. If Chas v'Shalom, during learning or davening, a person has a thought of women and things he shouldn't be thinking of, send in your mind this thought, go back up to the sphere of Chesed. That's where you come from. You come from the sphere of Chesed, there's your tikkun. That's it. Send it back up to there.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
I think there is a Gemara somewhere that speaks of a rabbi, a Choshev rabbi, who was learning. Whilst he was learning, he saw a very nice woman. He went home to his wife.
Yeah, I remember such a Gemara.
So this is in contrast with what we have just read.
No, he had his way of dealing with it.
What is the reason to telling us?
He's telling us that he was using the experience to deal with it in a certain way. He had some kind of arousal.
Yes.
So if I have some kind of an arousal, I want it to be chas v'sholom betuma. So I'll take the arousal and I'll use it b'kedusha. That's all. Simple.
So it's not pushing away.
No, he didn't push it away. He didn't push it away. But not always, every person is different. Person is different. So he's saying, you want to be independent, you don't want to come on to anybody else, nobody has to know about it. I had this thought, I have to find out, I know what I've done in the past, this could have originated the thought to begin with, but I'm sending it back up to where it came from, and let it have its tikkun over there, that's all. V'chein machshavas hayira. If you have thoughts of fear, whatever it is that cause you fear, you have fear of wild animals, you have fear of a war coming, you're afraid what's going to be if there's going to be a war, you have fear of what's going to be for parnasa, all kinds of fears that you have. Send it back. Lamidas hakavura. That's where it all stems from. Midas hatiferes. Things of gaiva, of glory, send it up to there. He says, these thoughts that you have could be coming from the beginning of creation. The bo etzlo l'tzorach elyon, l'tzorach elyon, they came to you so that they could be elevated. In kenefi zeh ein tzorach lidchos l'machshava ra mimachshava mimachshavto. Rak adarabba laharich, keep with it, stay with it, ad sheyalena l'sharsha biofanim hayeduim l'maskilim. Send it back to the place where it's supposed to come from. Okay, now, this is talking about who? This is talking about people who have this level, where they're thinking about the Olamas Halyonim all the time, and they have these thoughts which they're not supposed to have. So if you're all into that, thinking about the Olamas Halyonim and all the spheres, you'll be able to know more or less where to send these thoughts. However, people who aren't on that level, so what are they supposed to do? What you're supposed to do is just send it up the cloud. Or you can say, I can't even do that. I can't even do that. The first thing I have to do is clear my mind. Push it aside, that's all. I cannot let myself get involved with these thoughts. There's no place where I'm standing now in front of the Shekhinah. I have no place in my mind now, and this is completely absurd. You get it out of your mind and make sure your mind is clear, and then you continue with the Shemona Esrei. But you should have, after davening, a cheshbon hanefesh. What happened to me? Why did it happen? Where did it come from? I have to make certain kind of tikkunim. I have to correct myself. This shouldn't happen again. And there's ways to do it. We spoke about this many, many times. If you don't prepare yourself properly before the Shemona Esrei, it's much more likely to happen. But if you think about when you wake up in the morning, or when you have to go to Mincha, before you even go out of the building that you're in, I'm now going to speak to Hashem. You're already thinking about it, as you have to think about when you have a meeting with an important personality. You don't think about it the last second before you walk into the door. You're thinking about it way beforehand. I'm going to meet an important person, whether it's for business, whether it's for social reasons, whatever it is. You're already thinking about it, planning in your head, what are you going to say, what am I going to wear, all kinds of things you have in your mind. This is what you have to think about when you go to meet Hashem, not to be taking it for granted. I'm going to talk to Hashem, especially Shachris in the morning. That's the major tefillah of the day. When you wake up in the morning, not the first thing you should be thinking about is your food or whatever thing. The first thing is, now, I've got now an appointment with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. You already start to prepare for it in the house. And then when you walk into shul, you're thinking about it on the way to shul, and you could say certain psukim on the way to shul, not just to walk to shul and think in the sights and be distracted. Your mind should be on it all the time. And when you come to the door of the shul, you stop, and you say, V'ani b'rov chasdecha baruch Hashem, on my own 2 feet, with your great kindness, I'm able to come to shul in the morning. It's a very big, don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. There are many people who would love to be able to walk to shul in the morning on their own 2 feet and cannot do it. It's something which is to be very grateful for. And then when you walk into shul, it's already a completely different experience. Completely different experience when you walk into shul. And then you have a much better chance of davening a proper Shmoneh Esrei. It all depends on how you start. Walking into the shul will make the big difference. All right, we're going to stop for today. Mitzvah Shem. We'll pick up on this in Mitzvah Shem next week.